I'm the executive director of the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, and we are super, super excited to be here to talk to you about the first, to my knowledge anyway, food fund that's going to happen in Oregon. There's a lot that I can tell you, but before we jump in, I want to introduce David Foreman and Tyler Harkness. Tyler just stepped out of the room for a second, but David's here. So David, come on up here. You've got to be in this box here.
I have to be in the box?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm David Foreman. I'm a partner here at Tonkin Torp, and we're really pleased to be the presenting sponsor. And Maggie and I have worked together for a long time, and you'll hear from Stu I've known for a long time as well. And we're just really glad to be a part of this and really excited to help. I use a clusterized food and beverage in Oregon. There's other cities who have been doing this for a while. I'm not sure I understand.
For them.
Oh, for them. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're just really excited to help startup businesses, new food and beverage companies, help them grow and realize their dreams. And anyway, from all of us at Tonkin Torp, just glad to help present this and look forward to working with all of you and getting to know some of you and seeing your pitches at the end of all this. That's
Bathrooms?
it. Oh, yes. I'm going to go out of the box for this. If you need restrooms, through this door to the left or that door around to the right.
No. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sponsoring as well.
Yep.
Can you turn that off for me? All right, so we wanted to hold this information session. There's a lot of information that's happening, and it's probably a little bit confusing. OEN has been hosting a program called Angel Oregon for over 15 years. Who in the room has heard of Angel Oregon? Okay, so a bunch of you. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I can tell you I went through it one time right after I joined OEN as the executive director, and it was so confusing to me. And I was working at OEN, so I figured if we're going to do this and we're changing it, we need to have an information session where we can just kind of walk you through what's going to happen. Couple of housekeeping items. Did everybody see or get one of these? If not, come and get. I have too many things in my hand. Susan will hand them out to you. These things just are, we call them data sheets, and they provide information. It's kind of summarizing what I'm going to walk you through. So the goal for today is for me to provide an overview for what to expect, what the different categories are, why you should do it, answer all your questions about those things. And then for Stu Yaguda, who is one of our investors and who's actually the chair of investor recruitment, he's going to walk you through how to apply on GUST. Has anyone tried to apply on GUST yet? How was it?
Pretty easy.
Okay, good. I
think you should do it.
Yeah. It's a lot of people struggle with GUST, but it literally is the funding platform that most people use across the country when getting investment. So one of the educational sessions, this one is really making sure that you know how to use that platform, because if you go to raise money later, you're going to need to use GUST, and we want you to be successful out of the gate. I can tell you the only year that I ever participated in Angel Oregon, a lot of companies got cut right out of the gate, because they did not have a complete application. We do not want that to happen. If you get cut, it should be for a business reason. It shouldn't be because you forgot to upload something or you forgot to hit some button, okay? So I want to take a second to just introduce Tyler, because Tyler was not here. Tyler is an OEN board member, and he's our secretary and has been on our board for 3 years now? 2 years, 2.5? And he works with David Foreman, who gave an introductory. If you'd like to say something.
No, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm with Tonkin Torp. David Foreman's also Tonkin Torp. We're very excited to be sponsoring
Is it on?
the Angel Food Conference event, and very excited to have everybody here and hosting you. So hopefully
It's okay.
you'll all be excited about applying.
Okay.
Yeah, happy to connect with you later as well. So.
And for those of you on camera, he pretty much said what David said. So sorry I didn't have the mic over in time. We're still learning this whole mic stuff. For those of you in the room, the reason why you see a microphone and you see one here, it's not for you, because I know you don't hear speakers, and I'm not mic'd in this room, but I'm mic'd to the camera. And one thing that you should all know is that if we go through this and you still have questions, we're recording it. So we're broadcasting it live, and I don't know, Miles, how many folks do we have participating live?
I think we've got 10-ish.
10-ish participating live, so we're going to stop and take some of their questions along the way, as well as your questions along the way. But if you want to watch it again, we will send you a link to a recording, because it's going to be that good. You're going to want to watch it over and over again. All right, so without further ado, let me hold this the right way. Lindy over here is a new member of OEN's marketing team and came up with our fancy little logo, so hopefully you like that. I love the little umbrella. I'd love to talk a little bit about Angel Organ. So it sounds like a couple of you have heard of Angel Organ. For those of you who have not, it really is worth a minute to step back and sort of hear what I'm about to tell you, because it's something that a lot of people either don't know or forgot. So if you were to rewind about 20 years ago, and I know all of you in this room know it's really hard to raise money, but if you were to rewind 20 years ago, it was even harder, because there literally were no funds in the state of Oregon. There was no Oregon Angel Fund, which is now Oregon Venture Fund. There was no Portland Seed Fund. There was no Cascade Angels. There was no Rogue. There was no Ben Venture Conference or other regional conferences. There was nothing. So for those of you who don't know, OEN's mission is to support entrepreneurs starting and scaling their businesses and get them investor ready. We connect entrepreneurs to the people they need to know, the programs and education they need to grow, and the capital they need to scale. So 20 years ago, when there were no funds, the only way we could connect folks to capital was to connect them with accredited investors. So we would host, in partnership with Portland Angel Network and the Women's Investment Network, we would host like cocktail parties. And we would invite accredited investors. Those are the people that can legally write checks and invest in companies. We would invite them to come into to somebody's house, usually, like very nice house, poolside, fancy food, fancy wine, and we would invite a bunch of our members to come and pitch to them. And it was always a great time, and people always learned a lot. And I'm told, I wasn't here then, that very little business was done during that time. Very few checks were written, but everybody loved it. And this was all done through, like OEN's board was basically managing this. But again, we partnered with Pan and with WIN. And a couple of the folks on OEN's board thought, you know, we should just all commit. Like, what if we pooled our money and created a prize? And what if we all kicked in $5,000, we could come out to like $150,000 and invest it, and we'll do due diligence, and we'll pick the company, and we'll do this investment. And I know this sounds crazy, but no one had ever done that before. And that is how Angel Organ was born. It's a program of OEN, which was later replicated in multiple ways, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it was literally the first time that we are aware of people pooling their money to create an investment in a company, okay? And so this model, immediately after just 1 year, Eric Pozo, Eric Rosenfeld, and Bob Ward were all involved with that, all involved with OEN and on our board. And they took the Angel Organ program and said, we need to do this year round. This shouldn't only happen once a year in this 3-month period. We need to be looking at companies all year round. And when they're ready, you know, we need to be able to identify them. And so that's how the Oregon Angel Fund was born. And for those of you who don't know, Oregon Angel Fund has been around, I want to say 2000, how long? 2007, I was going to say 6. It's been around since 2007. It's changed its name to the Oregon Venture Fund, and it invests at least $10 million a year now, right? $10 million a year in Oregon companies. And it literally was born out of exactly what's happening in this room today, okay? Our goal, honestly, is to catalyze a food fund that's going to do the same thing. It's probably not going to be after only 1 year, is my guess, and we'll see how this one goes. But we would love to be able to catalyze a food fund that can help companies like yours, because it's hard to get investment, and I know it's harder for food and beverage companies. So the OEN Angel Organ program was replicated not just for OAF, but also we ran it in Bend, and now it's called the Bend Venture Conference, and they own that now. There was the Willamette Angel Conference. There was the Gorge Angel Conference. There was a Roseburg Angel Conference. They come and they go, and sometimes they take a few years off and they come back. And when I joined OEN, it's been about 2.5 years now, and I went through that Angel Organ process, there was a lot happening. I mean, you see, we have to have data sheets and meetings just to talk about the process. But there was a lot going on, and we thought, how do we do this better? And I was hearing a couple of different things. I was hearing from investors like Stu and other investors saying, I love investing in Angel Oregon because we got to look at a shoe manufacturer and a peanut butter company and a SaaS company and a medical device company and a retail store all in one 3-month period. But then I heard from other investors that are like, that was too much, it's too hard, I'm not really comparing apples to apples, too many people like tech, and I don't really like tech, I don't want to invest in tech, I'll only do it if I know it's going to be something I can see or feel or maybe even eat. Other people said, I will never invest in Angel Oregon again because you picked that peanut butter company or frying pan company. So the good news is that investors now have preferences. We didn't even have investors 20 years ago. Now we have so many investors that they have preferences. And so we paused Angel Oregon last year, and we really wanted to see, we knew that food and beverage is an important and critical industry in the state and in the region, but for Oregon. Last time I checked, it was over $14 billion and growing. It employs tons of people, and it's fun, right? It's a huge tourist attraction. We've got great beer, we've got great wine, we've got great consumer products. So we thought, what if we test this thought, and what if we only limited it to food and beverage companies and see what happens? So last year, we did a food and beverage showcase. Was anyone in the room part of the food and beverage showcase last year? No, okay. You were, awesome. Thanks for being here.
Just walked in.
So we did something a little bit similar to this, but essentially the food and beverage showcase was a pitch fest without a prize, but it did have a food fair. And it was fun, and people had a really good experience. What the people that were pitching didn't know is that there were a bunch of investors in the room that were listening. Of course, the feedback said there were no investors there. Yes, there were, they just don't wear signs that say investors. And so the investors came to us and said, those were some really good companies. We have some actual investable companies here. Like, we actually could do a conference around food and beverage companies. The other thing is that have anybody here heard of smart money versus dumb money? Yeah. So dumb money is when you just write a check and say, go do it. And these are not my words, so I apologize if I'm offending anybody. Smart money is when you wrap services and education and mentorship around along with the money, or at least the option for money. When you have a shoe manufacturer versus a retail store versus a peanut butter company versus a SaaS company versus medical device company, those were literally the 5 finalists in our last Angel Oregon. If you have all those companies together, you can't wrap any meaningful support and educational sessions around them because they're too different. You could do high-level stuff, and we did, and we had mentors, and we paired people up, and people definitely learned a lot going through the process. But because we're limiting this to food and beverage, we have lots of industry experts who are going to be going with you through this along the way to really help you along the journey, okay? So this is not technically one of those educational sessions. There'll be 4 of them. We'll talk about them later. Each one of them will be taught by a combination of entrepreneurs that are pretty far along with the service providers and other industry experts that need, that help, like distributors, co-packers, things like that. The goal really is to make sure that each of you are meeting the people that you need to know in order to grow your business. We can't stress enough the importance of making the connections and finding mentors, whether it's formally through some of the people that you're going to meet through this, or even informally, knowing like, oh, I met that person that one time, I should ask them, about this. So that's a lot of information, but I just felt like it was important to talk to you about how we got here. I will say that in the Angel Oregon days, there were people that would apply and would maybe get cut right in the very first round, like before they really got much of anything, and that made me feel not so good. Here, honest to goodness, I appreciate that everybody wants to probably win either the prize if you're the concept stage or the money if you're in the later stage category. But really, the the education sessions, the people you're going to meet, the contacts you're going to make, that truly is the reason to do this. It will be great, and I'd love for all of you to get some money out of this. But be in it for the education sessions and the contacts that you're going to make too, because you'll get tremendous value about that along the way. Okay? So, why are we doing this? Oregon's an innovator in food and beverage. Funding companies is really hard, no matter your industry, but it's even harder for food and beverage. We talked about a lot of this, right? One sector allows us to provide mentorship and education in ways we couldn't do before, and we're convening the community. So what is it? It's a 4-part, 3-month educational process. It starts right now. It will culminate in a 1-day conference called the Angel Food Conference, which will also be a food fair. We're going to have a pitch fest along the way. It's going to be a big event. We're going to have a dance party at the end. We'll tell you more about that later. I can't tell you who it is yet. But we really want to bring visibility and make this really fun. We need the state, and we need just the general public to understand how critical your businesses are to the state's economy. And one thing I didn't mention is that if I were to ask each of you to tell me how many public companies we have here, it's not that many. We can't rely on big companies, even though we've got a bunch of big ones like Nike and Intel and Adidas and others. That is not the backbone of our economy. The backbone of Oregon's economy is in startups and all net new jobs. And I'm going to say that again, all net new jobs come from startups. Okay, there's tons of research on that. Most recently, the Lemelson Foundation was talking about it. You guys are important. What you do is important, and it's our job to support you. Okay? So you get an opportunity to pitch at the May Pub Talk. Depending on how many people we have in each category, we may limit that to the concept stage, but we have to see. We'll figure that out. There's an opportunity to win for concept stage folks, pro bono professional services. It's probably not a surprise for you guys. If you don't have any sales and you don't really have your product yet, no one's going to invest in your business. And if you think that, now you just got your first tip. So no one's going to invest in you. No one's going to invest in you unless you actually have proven that you have something that people want to buy, right? So you're not going to be able to compete for the investment, but you will be able to compete for things that you need. In the past, we have secured things like legal services. We have been able to curate accounting and bookkeeping services, office space, donate like gift cards, all sorts of coaching services, things that I guarantee you all concept stage companies need, but they can't afford. So we're not giving you money, but we're giving you things, and those things will be very helpful. And then opportunity for the later stage companies to win the investment. So who should participate? We believe that there is something for every single stage of companies associated with this conference and with the program. Concept and what we call startup and developing stage companies, you guys are going to do more of the learning, but you will be met by growth stage and investors and industry experts and service providers. All of those folks are going to be here. We're also working to bring outside investors from outside the state to the conference so that they can be looking at the growth stage companies that will get up on stage too. So we're trying not to limit it to just Oregon. We do want to bring in other investment groups, and we'll keep you posted as that goes along. We know there's some, it's on their radar. So the big event is June 19th. Make sure you save the date for that. And then this is specifically, we're going to walk through the concept stage. So if you have this one with the blue heading, we're kind of just walking through what's on this form, and I don't need to get into a ton of detail there because it's really right on there. Got a great idea? We can help you take flight. Apply to OEN's Angel Food Concept Stage Competition. People will help you with your business plan. Again, this is concept stage. You're going to get coaching and mentoring. You get an opportunity to present. Not everyone's going to get up on stage in this room. There's going to be a process for whittling that down. You probably know this, but for the later stage companies, there's something called a due diligence team, and that's where the investors meet. For the concept stage companies, you guys don't really have anything yet to due diligence on. So we have a selection committee that's going to be reviewing you guys and helping to sort you out. Concept stage folks can win a prize package worth up to $20K. Who knows, it could be more, but usually it's somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000. We'll see. And we talked a lot about the education you get along the way as well. How are you eligible? Usually people have a good idea. They're starting to prove their concept. Maybe they just did, but haven't been selling their product in any meaningful way yet. They're either testing it or have just finished testing it, and they have little, if any, revenue yet. Some people have asked me already, how much revenue is little revenue? Like if I have $1, does that mean I can qualify for the other stage? Theoretically, probably. But we are going to review everyone's applicants and make sure that you're in the right stage. If you apply for the later stage and we think that probably you're not going to stand a chance, but you could be a really good contender in the other category, we may move you. And we do that only because otherwise that means you're going to probably be cut. And we don't want you to be cut. We want you to be in the best place that you belong. So no, if you make a mistake and you apply in the wrong category, we will move you. Okay? So how much does it cost? So for OEN members, it's $99. For non-OEN members, it's $190. The difference is not even the cost of an OEN membership. What do you get for that? So you get admission, you get a lot. Like, I'm telling you right now, this is not a moneymaker for OEN, okay? Seriously. This is for you, and we're trying to make it as accessible as we can for everybody in the room, okay? So your admission, your application fee includes admission to the Angel Food Conference. Those tickets sell for $125 a piece to OEN members, and if you're not a member, it's even more than that. Coaching and mentoring from business leaders, it is priceless, really. Top-notch education from experts at the 4 educational sessions. We estimated that at $200, but I can tell you there are some groups that charge $200 just for one of those sessions, or $200 per hour. So that is as low-ball of an estimate of those 4 sessions as I could really give you. Also a chance to pitch at the May 8th Pub Talk, chance to win the packages, which could be $20,000, table at the food fair, which we have historically sold a table at a food fair for $100, and then a chance to pitch. Again, not everyone in all the stages is going to get to pitch, but you have a chance to pitch, and you'll get coaching along the way. Anybody have questions on concept stage before we move into startup and developing? Yes?
Could you go back one?
Sure.
What's the food fair? I've never heard of that.
A food fair is when you walk into a room and there's a bunch of tables and people are sampling their products.
So is that like at the Food Innovation Center or what?
This is all, by the way, I should have mentioned, this is all going to happen at the Red East. Does anybody heard of the Red? Okay. Has anybody been in the new Red East space, the brand new space? Yeah, what'd you think of it?
It's beautiful.
Right? Super cool. Super cool. The whole thing, does anybody know what the red means? I'm going to get it wrong. But it's something to do with salmon spawning. I heard the whole story and I was like, oh, I had no idea, but that's why they call it the red, because it has to do with food. They're going to kill me when they watch this and feel like you totally got it. I'm not wrong, I'm just not exactly right on that. But did you want to say something? And they're on Salmon Street. True. Excuse me. So it's happening at the Red. The Red is for those of you who don't know the Red, it's a huge food, what do we call it? Mecca, staple. I mean, I have to, excuse me, sorry. This is my night. Sorry. I'm sorry, I had the flu and I still can't stop coughing. All right. So it's the perfect place for us to do this. And the new space that they have there is beautiful. It's big, it's open, they have an outdoor area, which if I didn't mention earlier, where there's gonna be a dance party, I mean, come on. So it's a great place to do it. Did I answer your question? Okay. Any other questions on concept before we move on? Excuse me. Sorry for everybody listening to me cough. Yeah.
You mentioned that some concept companies will participate in the Pitch Fest at the conference.
That's a good point. I don't know that I actually said that. At the event on June 19th, there will be pitches by concept level folks. There will be pitches by the startup and developing stage level folks. And then there will be we're still figuring out the best way to do it, either TED Talks, panel, some other presentation by Growth Plus stage companies. So in case you thought that the only opportunity to pitch for concept stage was at the Pub Talk, that's not true. But at the Pub Talk, the top 2 people will definitely get a spot on the stage at the big show. So you want to take that seriously. If you're pitching at the May 8th Pub Talk, you definitely want to take it seriously and prepare for it. And don't worry, we'll prepare you because we have pitch coaches who are going to work with you. So, okay. So startup and developing stage category. So this is for companies that are scaling. It's pretty much the same as the other, except for the investment piece. How am I eligible? So at this point, you have a proven concept and your business plan is completed. So that was a little different, right? We're not helping you with your business plan. We're helping you figure it out, and we're helping you iterate and pivot. You've got a product and you're selling it somewhere. Again, this is where we have to see. We didn't want to put any hard lines. if somebody has $5 in sales, they are eligible to participate in this category. They may do better in the concept stage category, and we will ask you if you want to move. You can say no, but that would be up to you. Some people might be selling it in Costco. So keep that in mind if you're one of those people that's only in, with $5 in sales to your mother. So, or father. Okay, here's where it gets different. You have initial revenues of up to $250K if you're startup stage, or up to $2 million if you're developing stage and you're really looking to expand that market. Okay. I've gotten a few calls from people that have restaurants and carts. Are they eligible to participate? Yes, they're eligible to go through all this programming and come to all the events, but they will not be eligible to compete in the prize. Investing in a non-consumer products company for food and beverage is very different than investing in, I'm just going to keep pointing at your product right here that I kind of want to have one before I leave. So how much does it cost for them? The cost is the same. It's $200 for those two. Yes.
Could you go back
Sure.
quickly and maybe speak a little bit to how it would look if the restaurant has a product that they are...
Thank you. Yep, that's a great question, and I'm so glad you asked that. So the question is, what if a restaurant has a product that they want to sell? Yes, definitely apply. I know there will likely be some of them. I know some restaurants have sauces that people keep saying, oh, you got to sell it, you got to bottle it. Yes, those companies should definitely apply. Question?
The same would hold true for farmers who are doing value-added products.
The comment over there was the same would hold true for farmers that are doing, I couldn't hear it.
Value-added.
Oh, value-added products. Thanks. Was there a question over here? No? Thought I saw no hands? Okay. So how much does it cost? It's $250. Why? Because everything OEN does is to subsidize the earliest stage company. So the folks that have no money can't afford to pay, even though they probably benefit the most. So it's really a sliding scale. This is our sliding scale. People who can afford to pay more, we ask them to pay more so that the people who can't are helped out. And then we ask that you please pay it forward as you evolve on your journey. So for startup stage companies, the cost for non-members depends on your stage. Membership for OEN is based on your revenues. So your application fee includes a year of membership. And so a startup stage company, those with revenue of up to $250, the cost is $385. That's a really significant discount on your yearly membership. And then for developing stage companies, those with revenues of $250 or up to $2 million, the cost is $500, which includes the $250, by the way, in case maybe I didn't make that clear. So it's $250 plus $250, which equals $500, instead of it being $685. Does that make sense? So you're getting a bigger discount. Any questions on that?
So the developing stage includes the annual fee for OEM?
Exactly, yeah. So if you're not an OEN member and you pay $385, what you're really paying is $250 for your application fee, and then your membership is discounted by $50. And if you're developing stage, you're paying $250 for your application fee, just like the other group, and you're getting $145 discount off membership. So we're only charging you $250 instead of $385 or $395. Okay. So what does the application fee include? All the same stuff we talked about before, plus you do have a chance to win the investment. People probably want to know about the investment. As of today, we're at either 65 or 70,000 already committed. We expect to hit 100. Stu's doing his best to bring the big bag of money to us, right, Stu? So we'll keep you posted on that. Everybody who starts in this stage will go through the due diligence process. We don't know how many of you there are going to be. It might be that a couple of people get cut in the beginning. It might be that no one gets cut and everybody starts pitching and really, really goes through hardy due diligence. It just depends on how many companies go through the mix. But you will all get feedback on because only 5 are going to wind up on stage. We're committed to having 5 finalists pitch in this category at the June 19th event. So every one of you that applies that does not get picked for that, you will get significant feedback on why you didn't advance, and that information will be really valuable. And I should note also that we're partnering with Business Oregon. Probably not applicable to most of the concept stage companies. It's not impossible, but I didn't put it up there because I felt like it's not that likely. But Business Oregon does have a loan program. They have a small business expansion program, and they'll be doing due diligence alongside us to decide which of you might be eligible for their loans. They will contact you. It's not part of this process, but it's a kind of a value add, and they'll contact you directly. And if they make you an offer to make you a loan, you'll want to talk to them directly about whether or not you want to do that. Okay. So the timeline on April 24th, it's our first education session. We're still working out the time. Right now, these are either going to be from like 3 to 6 or 4 to 7, somewhere in that time frame. We'll let you know for sure. But you should definitely block out every single one of these dates. Put it on your calendar now. April 24th, we'll have pitching and presentation coaches along with investors who will tell you if you're pitching a food and beverage business, this is how you do it. This is what matters to a food and beverage investor. May 15th is product and brand development. And by the way, these are all in an evolution of sort of the life cycle of how a food and beverage company would roll out. Keep in mind that we expect there to be something for everyone. So product and brand development, there's going to be things to learn at that. Even if you're growth stage, you are going to learn something there. So I almost feel like I've dumbed this down a little too much, but there's something for all stages of business. Yeah.
So do you have to be an OEM member or be participating in the conference to attend these education sessions?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why the application fee has a member price, and then the non-member price includes your membership.
Gotcha.
Good question. The question was, do you have to be an OEM member in order to attend the sessions? And the answer is yes, but your application fee, if you're not a member, includes the membership for a year. Another hand.
You have a finalist reception on June 17th, and I'm assuming the finalists are picked before that, right?
Yes.
When does that happen?
The question is, tell me more about the finalist session and the date and when other finalists picked. And I think I have it on the back of this one. We will select the finalists on June 5th, and then the final due diligence happens between June 5th and June probably like 15th, because the pitches will be on June 12th for the finalists. There's all that information's on here, but we just didn't, since it's not applicable to everybody, we didn't want
Are
to.
these education sessions required for the?
Great question. The question is, are the education sessions required? No, they're not. You can sign up and go through the process and not come to any of the education sessions. I think that'd be a mistake. I think that's a really important part of the program, and we designed it so that the education, regardless of how far you make it, will really be helpful. But the good news is, just like I've got my mic on and I'm staring in the camera when I remember to and trying to remember to repeat the questions, we will be doing this for all the education sessions, and we really are trying to be statewide. We've got some companies from across the state that are participating. So if you can't make it, you can webcast in live, and there are people webcasting in live right now. But even better news is that we'll be recording them all, so if you miss it, you can just watch it at your leisure. And I really do encourage you to do that. Yeah?
Will they all be here?
Next question, will all the education sessions be here? No, but some of them will be here, and we'll have more information on that later. Yeah. Yes?
And are the hours the same? Is this like the 4 to 6 kind of thing?
The next question is, what will the hours of the education sessions be? They will be somewhere from like 3 to 6 or 4 to 7. All of the things that we do, with the exception of the food fair, the conference and food fair, that's going to be from noon to about 6:30. Question in the back.
Can we hone the business plan after we apply up until the point of the pitch?
The question is, can I hone my business plan up until the conference?
Well, whenever we need to pitch, like we need to apply by the 8th, but then there is a business plan.
Okay, so now I understand your question. Thank you. So the question is, if I submit my business plan on GUST by the application deadline and then I want to change it, can I do that? Yes, you can. Let us know what changes you make if you make changes after the application deadline. We will email you once we have your application with the date that we're going to start reviewing them. And I think, Stu, do we have that date yet? We might have it on the investor one, which we didn't hand out.
I don't know.
Do you know, Susan?
April 26th.
I think, yeah, so it would be before April 26th. We expect, especially the earlier stage companies, we expect that you're going to hone your business plan. Like, it might look very different by the end of this process, and that is not a bad thing. That's how you learn. Mountain Mel, right? You iterate, right? That's kind of what you have to do. But we're here to help with that, and we want, we try to ask questions. If we find inconsistencies in the business plan or challenges, we're not there to say, oh, you're out. We know you're not going to get it right. The whole point is to redirect you and have you think about things a little differently so that you hone it as you go through this process. Yes?
So prior to this April 26th date, will you be doing things like, hey, this can be a little, you can clarify this a bit more, or?
So the question is, prior to the first cut deadline, do you have an opportunity for feedback? And the answer is no. So that's why Stu in a few minutes is going to walk you through how to put your best foot forward out of the gate. That's what and I know you came in a few minutes late, but Stu's up in a couple minutes and he's going to talk about how do you put your best foot forward so that you won't need to adjust it too much. But we will keep you posted about timelines, okay?
Hey, Maggie, I've got a couple questions from the audience.
Great.
Yeah, so.
Are you mic'd? Is your mic on?
No.
Maybe
Do you
turn
want
it.
me to do that, or?
Yeah, well, I think it'd be easier. I also have hot tea.
Okay. So, question, do we have to attend in person or will it be streamed live? I guess that's all the education sessions.
Yep, and I think I think somebody else asked that question. You do not have to attend at all. We hope you do. You should. It's great content, great speakers. The best thing to do is to attend in person if you can, but it's definitely webcast and it will be recorded.
And then the next question, will the handouts be emailed to those of us on the webcast?
Yes, they will be. The handouts will be, sorry, I feel like I'm on Jeopardy or something. The handouts will be emailed to everyone who's participating. We can email them to all of you if you like. It's no trouble. And the handouts are investor data sheets that summarize pretty much everything that's on the screen. So I forgot to advance, but we're at the question phase of Any other questions on the mechanics? Yes.
At the food fair, are you having grocery buyers or somebody like that attending, or what's the purpose of the food fair?
So the question is, what's the purpose of the food fair? The purpose of the food fair is so that new people can try those. Okay. I am going to definitely take one before you leave. So we want you to, you guys sell stuff and people might like it. So we are not having, New Seasons is not going to have a table there, but I would imagine that there will be people from New Seasons that are going to come. I know they came last year to our showcase, which included a food fair, and they want to taste your food.
Was that the buyers or was that managers, grocery managers?
It just depends on who they send. We let all of our contacts know what's happening, and so they send whoever they want to send. Yeah.
Maggie also said that Costco came to the last one.
They did, yeah. Costco has been involved in a lot of our food and beverage programming, and they don't wear the Costco sign. You don't know it's them, but they are out there walking around looking for product. They are actively looking for products to put on their shelf. Yes?
There's one $100,000 prize, is that correct?
Such a great question. So the question is there one $100,000 prize? And the answer is we don't know. It's going to depend on all of you and how much money all of you need and whether or not there are other groups that might want to do what's called a sidecar investment. Does anybody know what a sidecar investment is? So we have a fund. People invest in $5,000 increments in the fund. They have to be an accredited investor. If you know anybody who wants to do that, as long as they're accredited, send them to Stu. Basically, let's pretend that we get $100,000 in that fund, okay? And let's pretend that there are people from Oregon Venture Fund, and there are people from Oregon Venture Fund participating in the fund. They're participating as an individual. It may well be that they're also talking to OVF or to Cascade Angels or to Portland Seed Fund. So it may well be that those needs could be met by one of the larger investors, in which case we would rather invest that money in companies that aren't going to get it from another source. So we try to collaborate to put the money out however we can.
My question then is that if you're competing for a prize and it's $100,000 and you have 6 different companies with 6 different net present values, is it a negotiation at that point, or you just, I mean, who gets what, and what are the terms, and?
Do you want to take that, Steve? And I want to
just
be
turned
careful
on my
about
mic.
calling it a prize, though, because it's an investment.
Well, you said it was a prize, okay.
Well, it's an
Yeah.
investment prize, right? So it's, you win, the prize is an investment. So they, you know, they get a
Do you
piece.
understand what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that if you win the prize or
Mm-hmm.
the investment, is that the end or the beginning? I mean, it seems like, well, what do you get for your prize? You get 1% equity, or do you get 10%, or how does that?
That's-
And then
okay.
does the, at that
Tyler,
point, does
you
the
might wanna talk about that
negotiation
too.
begin, and it could have fall apart, and then do you give you 100,000 back, or what is the deal?
Right, so.
So
it will-
Stu, summarize the question for the audience, if you
Oh,
will.
okay, yeah.
You're welcome.
So the question is, what form will this investment be in? And it's probably going to be a convertible
That
note.
would make sense.
Okay, and then if, let's say you were to win this, and you go down the road and you're doing well, and then you get another investment from a lead investor for a bigger round, $1 million or $2 million. They will set the terms, and then this convertible note will convert into those terms.
So does that make the company less valuable? Because we've taken a convertible note?
Does it make it less value? No.
Does it
If,
dilute this?
well, yeah, it'll dilute, but now you've got a $2 million investment, sure. But, you know, if you don't want outside investors to dilute how much you have, then you really don't want investment.
Right.
You know, that's what, I mean, that's what it is, right? If,
No, I wasn't asking that. No, I was just trying to figure out, 100,000 means, if you have 5 finalists and they have 5 different net present values, that 100,000 means a lot different to each one of those guys.
right.
And some
Well-
companies.
So the question I have then is, so how do you value I mean, do you just come in and say, okay, convertible note, and it's 30% interest or something, or what?
Well, it's not going to be 30, it'll probably be more like 6% interest, and there might be a discount from when it
So that's
converts of like
negotiated
10.
after you win the prize?
Yeah, yep, and then you can turn it
Walk
down and
away.
say, I don't want this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's-
And then it could go to, you know,
And I
someone else.
want Tyler, who's our lawyer, to talk about it, but I also want to make one quick point. It is entirely possible that the investors might say, you know what, we can do more good by giving like this company 30 and this company 25 and this company, I have no idea what they're going to do. They may
one
give
of
it
the-
all to one company, they may
That
split it
just-
up.
Okay, though, so the incentive to go means there isn't going to be a $100,000.
Well, we don't
We
know.
don't know.
We could have $200,000. We don't know.
I
Right.
see.
We, you know, right now we've got $65,000
I see, okay.
committed. We're just getting started. It could be more. You know, we don't know.
I see.
We're going to raise as much as we
I get
can.
it. No, that makes
So
sense.
to clarify,
My preference would be not to give 10 companies $10,000 because
Right.
then it becomes meaningless.
I would think so.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so there's no opportunity with this for a loan, is that correct?
Correct.
This is through Business
Well,
Oregon.
Business Oregon,
No, we're not Business Oregon, but we don't do loans. We do equity.
But it is a convertible note. So, Tyler, maybe you want to explain.
Yeah, I guess just a couple points that might be helpful for the conversation there. So a convertible note, right, is a very standard way of investing in a startup company, and the whole concept is to defer setting a valuation. So when you're talking about sort of net present value and cash flows or things like that, that kind of inquiry into getting a really concrete valuation of a company you wouldn't do at that stage. The idea is to kind of kick it down the road until you get, you know, a larger investment round when it makes sense to put more effort into pegging down a definite value. And a convertible note will normally have a discount rate because taking into account the fact that, you know, a convertible note is coming in earlier and it's taking on more risk than a later stage investor. Sure. So basically it says, you know, we're going to put in $50,000 or whatever, right? And the price that we're going to pay per share is going to be, you know, the same price someone will pay later, just 20% less, right? There's pretty standard market terms for things like that. So yeah, maybe 15 to 25% is what typically gets negotiated. So, you know, that's how it typically works out. And then, you know, the alternative is that you could have a valuation cap as well, which would also be a standard market term, which basically says, you know, if, you know, the subsequent investor comes around and they say they think the company's worth $50 million, right? You know, we're going to say that, you know, we're going to convert our price per share at no more than like a $5 million valuation of the company or $2 million valuation of the company. So, and all of those terms get pretty standard in the marketplace. So Portland has like very very standard market terms for convertible notes that you'll see when you do a lot of them. And, I can't say definitively what we're thinking the terms are going to be for the investment because we're still working it out with the fund manager. But, taking into account that the mission of the fund, the fund's purpose fits into the mission of the conference, right, which is to equip food and beverage startup companies to, have meaningful access to capital that they might otherwise have trouble getting. I think it's fair to say the fund is not going to be offering terms that are outside of market, but with an eye to, recognize that we want to have like generally company-friendly terms that are still market, right? So, within the range of what's market, we're going to try and, facilitate.
There are
if I could just
a few horror stories out there about companies who made really bad deals. We have people looking at that. We are here to. It's not in the investor's best interest to put put the screws on you.
But on the other hand, these things go and come. These Lamed Angels, they come on, they go away, and then so they're one period world sort of things, right? So there's no.
But let me tell you one thing. We are not Shark Tank. Seriously, you are not going to see a deal like that. And just what Tyler said is everything. I've been doing this for 9 years now, and we really want the entrepreneurs to do well. We want to do well too, but we're not going to give you something that would take away all your incentive to do well. That's not the business we're in.
And I guess just a follow-up point in terms of process, So if you think of coming out of the conference, you're excited if you win an award and a prize and you're going to get money. There is still just like a process that not everybody enjoys, right? Where you're going to have a note purchase agreement, you're going to have a convertible note, you're going to need some kind of lawyer to take a look at it for you, right? And there might be a little back and forth to make sure that the terms are all what everybody thinks they should be, right? Convertible notes are pretty straightforward, simple instruments in the purchase agreement as well. So it shouldn't be like a particularly onerous process unless there's some real misunderstanding around kind of what the offer was.
I guess the picture I'm trying to draw in my head is it worth it for a company if there's 400 people competing for $100,000 one prize? Is it worth it? And I guess that's what.
Well, I mean, I guess all the investors out there, the world of investment, right? There's a lot of companies competing for investment. This is one place where there's a specific group of investors that have put money together
for food
that you have a chance for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I think maybe part of your concern is maybe the development versus startup stage. Here's a development stage, they're already at almost $2 million in sales, and here's a startup stage at $100,000 in sales. How do you compete with that when you're only at that 100,000? Is that kind of?
Not really. I was just curious of whether to invest the time and effort into doing this.
Well, that's kind of question for me. I'm thinking that, I've done a couple of these.
Let me give you the microphone so our friends on webcast can hear.
The way I look at these is, yes, there is that prize at the end, but I think the value is what the applicants are going to receive, that coaching, that training. Sure, if you get picked to be one of the final 5 and you don't have a heart attack doing that, then that's great. But the way I'm looking at it is the value of the application fee is in all this training and coaching we get.
So another note on if you're looking for outside investment into your food and beverage startup, you're going to need to have, like a pitch deck, and you're going to need to know how to pitch investors, right? And so going through the process in this event is a great opportunity to learn those skills and to get that pitch deck ready, right? And then not only that, but in the conference, even if you don't win the prize, you're going to get up in a community like a conference in the community that's focused around bringing food and beverage investors just to see what's out there, right? So it's a great place to just show potential investors, just what you're doing, right? It's a great sort of platform to get out there.
And one other thing too is we do have media relationships, and in the past, we expect these to happen again this year, but in the past, the local papers, like the Oregon papers, do pretty big profiles on the finalists, sometimes the semifinalists too. So there's a lot of visibility opportunities for the companies that go through it. Also, even just at the food fair, just to get new people to taste your food. They might not invest, and some investors might want to come up to you and say, oh, you didn't win, but I really liked your food, and here's my card. I mean, you just don't know. We can't make any promises about that, but But I do appreciate the comment that you made because truly, I mean, 1, 2, maybe 3 companies will get an investment, but all of you will get a pretty phenomenal education.
Maggie, we have another question from the webcast. This is great. We're located on the Southwest Washington coast. There's nothing like your program out here. We're often referred to the OSU Food Innovation Center in Portland. Would you consider our startup seafood company eligible since our facility out here is out here, but our customers are in Portland and Vancouver?
So that is a great question. The answer is yes, but you can't get any of the money that comes from Business Oregon through the Oregon Growth Board, which means that let's pretend that that company applies and goes through the program and the investor group picks that company to win the entire pot. They would get all except for the Business Oregon Growth Board $25,000. The Oregon Growth Board $25,000 would go to a second company that the investor group would identify.
We have a question.
I have another question. I want to know what is the evaluation group? Is it the investors themselves? And then second part is what is the methodology for the evaluation in terms of getting to either the top one or the perhaps more than one winner where the big convertible funds get diverted into more than one company?
So for concept stage level, you all heard the question. For concept stage level folks, the evaluation process is a selection committee because you just don't have enough information. That group doesn't have enough information to do a full due diligence review. They are investors that do that. It's a subcommittee. For those that are competing for the investment, it's all of the investors. So the investors get together, they have between 6 and 8 meetings, and then they have homework when they go home, and they're going to call you and they're going to ask you to do things and answer questions along the way. I mean, you should all know, like it's, Stu's going to have some questions for you, and he's going to push you, and the other investors will push you too. So it's really the investors that evaluate. I will also say OEN has nothing to do with it. I have no say in it. Nobody knows who wins until the conference day. We pick the finalists on whatever date I had said earlier. I can't remember now. So we'll know who the finalists are. The 12th?
Oh, no, 12th is the finalist pitches. So right after the 12th, before the 17th.
Yeah. So did I get your full question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yes.
So in the course of the due diligence process, can you speak to...
Hang on one second. We're going to get you a microphone. Sorry, Tyler, I put you to work.
So in the course of the due diligence process, can you speak to your valuation methodologies for companies, multiples, standard sort of practices there, and then how that relates to the dilution if one gets selected?
Here. So I think the piece that stands out to me that I'd note, and Stu probably has some other helpful comments as well, but kind of like I mentioned, right? So there's a discount rate that applies to the valuation that comes in a subsequent round, right? And so in a fundamental way, like our investor group is thinking we're not going to set a definite value for the company we're investing in, right? All we're going to do is say whatever, all we're going to do is try and identify a company that that we think is going to be successful, right? And then hopefully later investors will set a valuation on that and we'll get a discount on it, right? There's an implied valuation in the cap because the cap is basically setting a limit to how much the company valuation could be set at in a later round for in terms of it needs to be at a certain level and no higher to make sure that you get a certain amount of equity, right? From my perspective, like I mentioned, there's very sort of standard market deviations within which that would fall kind of for any startup company, and it depends more on region than anything else, right? So what a typical valuation cap would be in Portland is very different than in the Bay Area, and it almost depends more on, where's your startup located and where are the investors, right, than anything else, right? But
as a multiple EBITDA, or how do you do it?
The question is?
No, yeah, so I mean, often, in Portland, 2.5 million might be the valuation cap, right? Because that's what the funds in town will set a valuation cap at, and they don't really go higher, and that's what all the funds do, right? So you're not likely to get like a $10 million valuation cap regardless, right? And so there are exceptions to that potentially if there's a case to be made for it. But, and Stu, I don't know if you have thoughts on how.
Yeah, just one thing. When we're doing diligence, valuation probably will never come up until the very end. We're really interested in finding out who's the best company out here. And then again, we don't set the valuation. That'll be set in your next round, but we'll have a cap on it. And just the real easy math on this, just so you understand it, let's say we invest $100,000, we agree on a $2 million valuation. I just picked out an easy number. Or let's say 1.9 million. So now the total post money is 2 million. Well, we own, I think the math is right, 5% of your company. Is that right? Yeah. So we own 5% of your company, and that's how it works.
So you value post money, okay.
Yeah, it's on the post money.
Okay.
But again, the next people, next investors are going to set the valuation, and we just participate in that.
So I have a feeling there's a lot more questions, but I'm starting to think about time. I want Stu to be able to talk about GUST because that
so exciting.
None of this will matter if you don't have a good GUST application. I'll take one more question if it's out there, and is there any more on the webcasting? Yes, she's got a mic for you.
I just have a question about people who are eligible. If you're a farmer's market business and you're looking to scale, but not necessarily in like a single product direction, more of like a brick and mortar situation, is that something that you guys are interested in investing in, or is it more like super scalable products for like grocery stores and things like that?
I'll let Stu answer that one.
I just want to make sure I heard. Are you asking if we're interested in like investing in restaurants or things like that?
Yeah, I guess that would be the question.
Yeah, probably not, because we're looking for things that can grow and get big and.
Like national.
Yeah.
But if your business plan was that you're going to be syndicated, and I mean, there's a lot of restaurants now that would fit that model. I don't know.
A chain of restaurants. If you had a good case to be made for a chain, but if you're trying to establish one restaurant, one storefront, no.
Okay. I don't know when you came in, but we did talk about restaurants earlier, and that they're not really. We still encourage them to go through to meet and learn.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was just like one restaurant. Like if you already had a brick and mortar, you weren't encouraged to apply, or if you were like looking to go that direction.
I would say that if someone has a food product that they have like at a food cart or selling at farmers market, and they're looking to take it bigger locally, while you might not be the best fit for the investment, I think you would learn a lot going through the program.
Okay, thank you.
And meet people. I mean, we have confirmed the buyer for Market of Choice and the buyer for New Seasons are participating in the education sessions, so you will meet them and others.
So I'm going to turn my mic off and turn it over to Stu. So thanks, everybody.
Okay. Oh, I need the clicker. You have that? Okay. So just a little bit on my background. So I worked at big packaged goods companies like Nabisco, and then I ran a small organic food company in Vermont. I moved here 8 years ago, and I've been an angel investor ever since. I didn't know what angel investing was till I got here, but now I'm in my 9th year. And GUST is the way that I look at, and our whole fund looks at applications. It's where we get all our initial information. If it's a bad application, we never meet those people, because we just, either it's a bad idea, we think. We're not always right. It's either a bad idea or they didn't put in the time to make a good application, so it just doesn't go any further. So anyway, so put some time into doing this, put some thought into it, and it's really, it's so easy and intuitive to use, and this is my 9th year using it, and I usually pull out my hair somewhere midway through working with it. So at any rate, there is help to be had with it. So at any rate, instead of starting on GUST, if anyone has ever done this before, you're going to start at oen.org, and you're going to go to the red circled programs, which is amazing, because when I did this, all my circles were in blue. So Miles changed this for me. So anyway, so you're going to click on programs right in the middle there. Okay? And then that will take you to this page, and you're going to see a bunch of their different programs. You're going to click on the one that's circled, called Angel Food Conference and Education Series. And then this is going to take you to the 3 different areas: the concept stage, startup, and developing stage. And then you're just going to click on, let's see if I can find, oh, there it is. You're going to click on application information in the appropriate one. Okay? And then that'll take you here, and you're going to click on the button that says apply to GUST here. So it's a little bit different way to get into GUST. Now we're into GUST. Yahoo! Finally got there.
What does it stand for?
I have no idea. I don't know if it's an acronym or I don't know. And now, so you're going to look a little bit different than this if you're just starting out. But since I already created my my company right there, Stu's Bad Stews, it took me to this page. And then I would either click on my company or the new deal button, that blue button there, and then you'll create a new deal. And then the first page, you're going to create your personal profile, which is on the left, and then your company profile on the right. And the personal profile, you see I put a lot of effort into this. My biography is blank. Experience, I haven't put anything in, and I have very little areas of expertise. But I really encourage you to put maybe in the biography something a little bit about yourself. Investors are people too, and we just like to know, is this person into hiking or skiing or biking or movies or whatever? It just makes you more of an interesting person. But also really spend some time on experience, areas of expertise. Okay, and then on the right, you're going to create your company profile. Now, you're going to keep seeing like that blue plus button. What you do is you hover your mouse pointer over companies right there, and the blue plus button will pop up. You can click on that, and then you can add a company, and that's gonna end up everywhere that you go. Wherever you want to add something, you're just going to highlight that area, click on the blue plus button, and you'll be able to edit. And then the MVP is right down here. When you get lost, just click on that, and Kellen or someone else will appear, and he can help you with where you are when you're stuck.
Actually, it's Stu's cell phone number.
Yeah, and I will be totally unhelpful. I was on chat with Kellen this afternoon. So anyway, so in here, this just shows you some of the things that I'm interested in. So my company is Stu's. I'm not in the hardware business. And then some other, I don't know why that's there, but I've been helping that guy out. And then these are 3 other angel funds that I've been involved with. Okay, and then you're going to add your company. And your company, these are the basics: the name, what's your one-line pitch. And for your one-line pitch and everything else in here, take some time on that. If I read the one-line pitch and it's, well, we make food, I may not even get down to the next thing, like, you know, what kind of company it is. I put some time and thought into it. The one-line pitch is, think about it, you get stuck in the elevator with someone, you have 15 seconds, boom, this is what we do, and you got their attention. They're interested in taking the ride down in the elevator with you and hearing more. Okay, and so you can see what's here, your company's stage, meaning how much revenue you have, location, industry, etc. And then be sure to save down in the bottom right. You don't want to get anywhere and not save. So here's an area you may or may not get to, but what you start with is you click on your name. That brings up these areas. You'll click on account settings and then manage companies. And here's where you can either publish your profile, or let's say you want to delete the deal. You didn't like the way you did it, or it's an old company that you closed down. You can delete that company. Okay? Okay. So now you're going to upload images and videos. And here's where you get really to the main part of it, the heart of it. So right here is upload background. You can upload that, and then if you click on that, you can actually upload a document from somewhere. You may not. I mean, I just went to this one, and this is another area where you hover over this, and the edit icon pops up. You click on that, and it'll pull up an area where you can put in all your information, okay, about your company. And then down here, this is where we're getting kind of to the crucial area, which is uploading your PowerPoint or PDF pitch deck. So this is where I go at first. Anytime I see, so at Oaf we get about 300 companies to look at per year. You know, so I kind of go through it. I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested. Oh, here's an interesting one. And if it's a food company, I'm definitely interested. I start going through their pitch deck. And if that doesn't make sense to me or I don't like it, I'm out of there and I give them a bad review and I move on. So put some time into your pitch deck. Okay?
What would you like to see and not see in a pitch deck?
What do we, well, oh, I'm sorry, yeah. So the question was, what do you like to see and what do you not like to see in the pitch deck? Hold that thought. We're going to get to it because it's going to come up in another slide, I think. Okay, I think that's where we are. Yep. Okay, so we're going to get there. So the next thing you're going to do is, oh wait, I want to go back here. So this whole area, these, which you can barely see, those are kind of the key areas that you can click on. And it took me a while to find them. So if you click on pitch deck, that's what you're going to do. Overview is all this stuff. Then you can click on executive summary, financials, documents. We'll get to that. OK, so now under the overview, which was that part on the left, you want to add in your profile under team. Now, if there are any other key members of your team, co-founder, head of marketing, head of sales, whatever, you do want to put in the description. Investors really like to know that there's more than one person. Because if you get hit by a truck and the company's out of business because there's no one else, that makes us nervous, right? So we really want to know that there's a team there. And you guys know how to add team members. You hover and you click on the plus. If you want to change what you said about yourself, like maybe just got out of high school, like this CEO wrote, maybe we'll change that and make it a little bit better. Do you have any advisors? Advisors are important. It gives you credibility that you're reaching out to people who are experts in the field and can help you out. And then whether you have any previous investors. Okay? So the pitch deck, like we talked about it already. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, so click on the pitch deck and yes.
So you said previous investors there, but what about current investors or?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So before us. Okay. So any other investment you have. And that gives you some credibility too. Who are they? If you have someone who's, let's say, well-known in Portland or in the Bay Area, that gives you credibility. And it's also someone we can call on to ask about their yes.
So we have a question from one of our webcasters. If there are two business partners, how would we enter it into Gust? Do we need to each set up a personal profile and then one company profile?
No, I don't think there's I could be wrong about this. I don't think there's a place for having two different personal profiles.
But you would list them as a team member.
Yeah, but you list them as a team member.
Thank you.
Is probably the best place to do it. And
Thanks.
there's another question.
Back to investments. What if you will be receiving an investment before the event, like in May?
Okay.
Is that something we would list, or?
Yeah,
it's
so-
not finalized yet, but it will be middle of May?
Yeah, if there's anything that you can.
Repeat the question.
The question was if you're expecting an investment before this event, but you don't have it in yet, should you even list it? Sure, you can list it down in the bottom here. You're expecting an investment. If you can name who it is, that's great. It gives it more credibility. But we hear all the time, oh, we've got, $1 million, circled, and, we expect it any day, and most of the time that doesn't happen. So
But if you could verify it, then.
that would be awesome, yeah.
What about in that investment part where
Oh.
you've gotten money from friends and family, but it's set up more as debt and not equity?
Mhm.
Is that also going to
Sure, yeah, yeah. And so what you'd want to say there, thanks, Maggie. Keep reminding me, because I'll forget.
I forgot until halfway through.
So the question was, if you've gotten investment from friends and family, it's not equity, but it's debt, do you list it? Yeah, absolutely list it. List how much. So we've gotten $150,000 or 50 or whatever. Okay. So we got to the pitch deck. Okay, and then we get to the executive summary. So you can see that that is in that circle right there. And the executive summary, a lot of people that I know go to this before the pitch deck because it's a much shortened version of what's in the pitch deck. And all these things, you won't see these on Gust. I just listed them out of here because they go down there and I couldn't capture that screen. And by the way, all these are screenshots of when I was creating Stu's. Okay? And these are all the things that would go in the executive summary. Then you go into financials, another one of the tabs. Into financials, current funding round. So you want to list how much you're really looking for there. In this case, you're going to probably take whatever we can get. If we have 100, 200, you'll take that. Funding history, again, if you've raised friends and family or anything else. And then you have annual financials. And down here, for some reason, this didn't come out right, but this will always have 3 years of financials. And it's just revenue, expenditures, profit and loss. And you asked a question before about, do you look at a multiple of EBITDA? We do not expect any companies at this stage to have EBITDA. We're much more interested in revenue growth. So if you go along here on revenue for 3 years and it's flat every year, I'm like, geez, what is this person really pushing for? But we're looking for fast growth. That's what we want. Okay. And then there's documents. And in the document area, this is probably the last place that any of us will go. And it's probably the last thing any of you will get to. So if you do have a business plan, financial projections, or any other supplemental documents. So supplemental documents might be, have I gotten any media press? I mean, if you have, that's where it goes. Definitely put it in there. This is the least crucial of all the places. Oh, and so I did not answer your question about what goes in the pitch deck. So in the pitch deck, I mean, it's kind of, these areas that have to be really well thought out. So, what is the customer problem that you're solving, right? If there is no problem that you're solving, then who cares? Who needs it? Do you have a competitive advantage? You've heard of unique selling proposition, probably. I like to call it a unique selling advantage. What is it that you have that's better than exists already? Really give that some thought, because that's going. If there isn't anything there, we're automatically not interested. Have you thought about who your customer is? If it's like women 25 to 54, it's really generic. So really think about who you're trying to target. Upscale households with 2 kids, 2 working parents who don't have time to cook or shop, or I think that's what I what I put in here. Whatever it is, who are you really going after? And then sales and marketing, your strategy, competitors, competitive advantage. Those are all the things that go into the pitch deck. So you can refer to this executive summary. Yes?
So on the pitch deck, bunch of slides, and normally I'm speaking, and so the slides don't have all the words.
Yeah, so
What do we do with the words?
you won't have them there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, you can't have slides. Yeah, I mean, it's an art. There's no, oh, I'm sorry. The question was, so the question was, well, when I present the slides, I always have a lot of words to explain them, but what do I do with the words? So the answer is you won't have them. So it really is an art on how to do a PowerPoint presentation that people are reading to themselves. Now, hopefully you'll get to the point where you'll be able to do the pitch in front of the investors. But for this, it's got to speak for itself.
So when you do the pitch in front of the investors, what if you don't want to use a PowerPoint presentation?
You don't have to. Yeah, I'm not even sure. We haven't talked about that at all, whether there will be, a way to present that.
Yeah, there will always be the opportunity. It depends on the investor group will determine. I mean, all of this will be shaped by, like somebody earlier asked a question, I think he maybe left, but he was like, well, what if there's 400 companies that apply? I mean, it'd be awesome if we have that. I mean, I don't know how many we're going to get, maybe 50, maybe 30, maybe 10, I don't know. And then I don't know how we allocate them. So it's really hard to know. I can say that the more companies we have, the better the education sessions will be because you guys will kind of feed off of one another. But that makes the investor job a little bit harder because they have more companies to review and more feedback to give and all of that. But it will be up to you guys to decide how much or how little you want to hear from each of the people. Generally speaking, we've always allowed PowerPoint presentations. People just tend to feel more comfortable with them up there, and not everybody's done it. Like, not everybody, some people will be like, I don't want to use a PowerPoint. I can tell my story by doing this dance, and they do. And that's great. So.
Yeah, and it depends, again, like Maggie said, how many people we have, how many companies. But if we have a lot of companies, and I hope we do, make it a more lively crowd, the first pitch night, you might only get 5 minutes. So you may not be able to have a PowerPoint presentation. That just takes a lot longer. Yes.
Yeah. So with filling this out, say we're still in the concept stage. We don't have all the financials. Should we just fill out as much as we can? Or?
Yeah. Everyone heard that question, I guess, right? Yes. If you're in the concept stage, you don't have revenue, you don't have financials, you're going to be missing a lot of stuff. And for every stage that you're at, if you don't have stuff, don't worry about it. Just put in whatever you can.
If I could add up on that too, when you go onto these screens and it's bigger print, you'll see like when you apply for concept stage, there's some language that says something like, we realize you don't have everything, but do the best you can. I would encourage you to have an answer for everything, even if it's I don't have it. I wouldn't leave anything blank. Even if you have if it says attach a document for financials, attach a document and say, I don't have financials yet, and put whatever you think is going to happen. If it's reasonable, just to know that you saw it, it was not an oversight. We don't want to guess did they really have nothing or did they just forget to attach a document? So address the question, even if it's just to say I don't really have anything for here.
Another question from here.
I was going to ask something very similar because you had mentioned earlier that if anything was left blank, your application wasn't going to get submitted or it wasn't going to get past the first step. So you're saying, just to confirm, in any of these things that need to be attached, if you can't fulfill that information specifically, attach something with an explanation of that because your application will not get past.
I encourage you to do that. I will also say that what you apply, Stu has gone through everything that you need to apply for the startup and developing stage companies. It's a little bit different for concept stage. So we recognize that concept stage companies don't have all that information. So we try to make it easier. That said, some do have financial projections that they worked on. And so if they have it, we want them to have an opportunity to do it.
Thank you.
The expectations are very different.
And just so you know, we never believe any of the financial projections. We just don't know if you're high, low, or how much you're off by. We just know they're wrong. Anything else?
Just a quick one on this paper. It talks about the Pub Talk Pitch Fest, and at the end, I think you were talking concept stage is pitching on the 8th of May, because it says at the end the audience will vote on one lucky company to pitch. Is that
Yes.
true, or are all the other developing and startup stage?
So again, this is one of those squishy questions because we just don't know how many concept stage companies we're going to get. I sort of have a feeling that we're going to have more later stage companies than concept stage companies. I could be wrong. So it depends on how many we get. The vision, like you've participated in our pitch fest in the past. Did you win? She's good, you guys. Fierce competition there over there. She's good. But you know, usually we do a 1-minute pitch. We could keep it just concept stage and allow people to do a 2 or 3 minute pitch, but it's more fun to have more people up there. So if we don't have a ton of concept stage folks, we're open to allowing the later stage companies, but we will divide them. None of the later stage companies will get a spot. We could do a special pitch, but they're not guaranteed to be a finalist, if that makes sense. Okay. Only he gets to tell who's the finalist in his group.
Is the pitch done by a single person, or can it be a team pitch?
The question was, does the pitch have to be done by a single person, or can it be a team pitch? Absolutely, it could be a team pitch. Yeah, no problem. Sometimes when there's co-founders, when there's 2 people, it comes off better. It looks like a whole team, looks like a real company.
Yep.
But that's, at this stage, at early stages, that doesn't happen very often. Well, you got to It's like playing, team table tennis. You got to really coordinate it well.
One of my favorite pitches, and the audience favorite pitch from Angel Oregon 2017 was a guy named Marceau Michel. I don't know if any of you know him, but he had a company called Workhorse, where they sourced last-minute call-in sick people at restaurants, and they did a skit, like a scenario. And it was amazing, and it was no surprise that he won. I mean, it was great. So be creative, be serious, but be creative. His was like a great demonstration of how catastrophic it can be for a restaurant when 3 of their bartenders call in sick at the exact same time, 10 minutes before the shift started. And so if there's a way for you, being creative is great.
And just a reminder that the first education session is about pitching,
Yes.
with a couple of different experts on that.
Anything else?
Yeah, and just to dovetail on that, the reason we're doing the pitching one first is because everyone is going to start out pitching. It might be at the pub talk, or it might be in front of the investor group. So we want to make sure that you're armed with at least some basic skills on how to do that. And so you'll have some time. We don't ever want to give you too much time. There's all this research about how much time do you give between like the lesson and the test. And I can tell you that if we did it farther away than where we did it, nobody would do it, and then they forget everything they learned. So there is a reason why we have it timed the way we do.
I have a question.
Yep.
So it says the deadline to apply is April 8th. So I don't have a business plan together for the idea that I'm here for. Should I try to cobble one together in 4 days, or should I wait for that? Do you get rejected if you don't have a business plan, or how does that work?
No. Do you have a pitch deck, or can you put that together?
I heard a pitch deck for the first time today.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you have?
I have product. We make vegan butter that I want to take to market.
What do you have so investors can look at it and say, oh, this is interesting, or it's not interesting?
Or
Nothing.
customers. Don't
Yeah.
forget,
I
do you have anything
don't have anything together like that at all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, my company
No,
is.
not to us,
Yeah,
but
I
can
can
you
describe
describe
my
it
company.
on
Yes,
Dust?
for sure. I
Yeah.
can definitely talk about what I want to do.
So
But
you're going to be a concept stage company, right?
Well, I don't think so.
Okay.
It depends, because right now I'm a restaurant, and when I look at the incomes, I'm not in the concept. I'm above the concept stage income.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing is different than what I'm doing now, because I want to break out and take one of the products that we make and sell in the restaurant and sell it in the market.
Yeah.
I want to take the butter to market.
So we have not talked about this, so you can correct me if you disagree with
Oh, I
this.
will.
But, thank you. But the way I would look at this is your restaurant is your restaurant.
Right.
And then this product would be completely separate, so you don't have revenue for it.
Right.
So that
Oh.
would probably be concept stage.
Okay.
In my
But you
book.
do. But if you're if people are using it
Yes.
at the restaurant, you've got a great story to tell. So you
Right.
don't have sales because you're not selling it as a product to a store. But it's being used in a restaurant where people like it and want it and have expressed that they want to buy it. So you've got a great story to tell.
Right.
Yeah, but that is a concept stage.
Okay, concept stage.
Yeah.
But business plan, like,
Yeah.
should you cobble one together or should you not cobble one together?
It doesn't have to be a complete one, but
Okay.
whatever you can describe and feel good about,
Right.
don't bullshit, your way through it. So people see through that.
How else do you get through it?
Yeah, I mean, people see through it.
You do have business acumen because you're
Right.
in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that, he would still apply, still be able to go to all the trainings. He may be cut as far as you're concerned for the investment, but all the training and everything like that is open to everyone that applies.
Yep.
And
Okay.
he can come to the food fair and have
Right.
everybody sample his delicious butter.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're not interested in an investor, the other option here will be at the end to present to Business Development Oregon?
Well, it's to present to everyone, right? And
Business, yeah. So the way that works, that's a great question. And I don't
we have to
think he had
repeat
a
it.
microphone. So the question is, if you don't want an actual equity investor, should you just, is there a loan opportunity, basically? And the answer is, Business Oregon you need to apply as if you were interested in an investment, because those are the companies that Business Oregon is going to be looking at. So they'll go through that and they'll, yeah. Okay.
yes.
So we need to have the GUST application complete by midnight on April 8th to submit it. Can we go back later for we did this really neat video for our product and add to it?
Definitely.
Will people continue to look at that? Okay.
Yeah, and
so-
you're going to continue to get, or hopefully, you'll get feedback from investors and other people in the room. And we want we love it when people listen and they learn and they're like, wow, that was a good idea. I'm going to make that change in my next pitch or on GUST. Absolutely, yeah. Always update.
And one bit about timing. If history repeats itself, let's pretend there are 50 companies that start their process tonight and they apply and they go online to GUST and they start it. I guarantee you on April 7th, I'm going to get 25 to 35 emails saying, I'm not done, can you extend the deadline? Okay. We have always given a few extra days for the deadline. So we call April 8th. We tell everybody the deadline is April 8th. We want that to be the deadline because if I tell you that the deadline is really April 10th, then all those calls are going to come on April 10th. Okay? And I want you to have I want you to have the time that you need to do it, and I want you to be able to submit a good application. So please start it. Do your best to get it done on April 8th and hope that we can extend it at least a couple of days. But it takes time to do this. And so we want to make sure that you're going to have enough time to do it. Okay.
And put some time aside for hitting that button in the bottom right to get some help. Okay, I think I'm done. I've got to go home and go through GUST applications now. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
See
Thanks,
you.
everybody. And thanks to Tonkin Torp for supporting the event.